Okay, we're at the beautiful Bainbridge Island, Washington home of Super Sabre Society member Butch Facilio, but we've got two superstars here with us, JimSerrill and also JackCousyn. So it's an old airplane down here from long, long ago, and two guys from long, long ago that flew it. We're going to talk to them. So Jim, where in the world did you grow up and how in the world did you get into flying?
Well, I grew up in the Seattle area, actually just north of Bainbridge Island. My dad worked for Boeing, so I was always interested in airplanes. They got moved down to New Orleans. I went to college down there, and this was Vietnam time, so I figured I'd go to ROTC, and the Air Force guys looked the best. They were dealing with airplanes, and I went through the ROTC program and got a commission. Went off to Randolph and then got into pilot training. And at pilot training, there were 3 fighters that came down. There was a front seat recce, RF-4, and 2 100s, and I was lucky enough to get one of the 100s.
It's good. We're going to come back and tell you how you use that 100 later. Jack, how about you? Where'd you grow up and how'd you get involved in this business?
Well, I grew up on the West Coast. My folks were kind of like gypsies moving up and down the West Coast, but ended up going to high school right over here in Paulsville, Washington. And folks had the general store over at Kingston. From there, went off to school, and coming out of school, put in for the Air Force and the Navy. And the same day the letters came from each service, well, the Navy wanted to check my eyes some more, and the Air Force said pilot track, and off I went. And then from getting the commission, I went to Webb Air Force Base, and that's pilot training, and out of there did well enough flying the jet that got an F-100 assignment to Luke.
That's good. That's good. Now, Jim, back again. Where'd you go to pilot training?
Went to Randolph.
Randolph, okay. And what year was that?
68H was the class, so it was 67, 68.
Okay. So when the 100 assignments came down, did you go to Luke, and then how long was the course there, and then to Vietnam?
That's true. I went to Luke, the B course, or the CCTS, or whatever it was called back there. Then it was the 6-month course, and met some great people there. And then went off to Benoit. Was in the 510th initially.
The Buzzards.
The Buzzards, and then they began to draw down the 100s, and I got moved over to the 531st, and that's where I did my tour. It was right there at Benoit.
So what was the war like when you got there by that time? What year did you get there exactly?
It was 69,
okay.
69 to 70. They'd just been through TET. The unit that we were with was entirely close air support in 3 and 4 Corps, and there were a lot of guys still out in the jungle, and we spent a lot of time on the alert pad. Really got instilled in the casserole and scrambling in the middle of the night.
Right. So Jack, after you got your assignment to F-100s, what happened then? How did you get the assignment to F-100? Sound like an interesting story.
Well, actually, there was several fighters came down in that group. There were about 4, I think, F-100s, several F-4s, at which time, if you went from pilot training to the F-4, you went to the back seat. And that didn't sound all that cool to me, but anyway, I got a 100. And out of there, things were in a big flux. Briefly to Myrtle Beach, and then went to Torrejon, and I got in the 353rd Fighter Squadron at Torrejon, and it was a lot of senior, well-versed in the 100 pilots in that squadron, and it was very fortunate. I was the green beam and one other guy, and they really took us under their arm and checked us out. So after 3 years of that, I checked out as a flight lead, and we were doing 4v4 and all these wonderful things, and went back, was going to go to fighter weapons school, and I'm en route. I'm sitting in D.C. with the in-laws, and we get a phone call that your F-100 course is no more. We canceled it out, so I went via direct through jungle survival to Tuiwa and the 416th.
Very good. So what was the war like when you got there, and what year was it?
That was 69, similar to Jim. We were doing the northern part of the country and a lot of layoffs, strikes on the trail and what have you with the 100. And the Misty program was an adjunct of the 416th, so they were using everybody's F models, but we were setting alert and doing a lot of frag missions on the trail. And
Yeah. So talk about the threat in Vietnam when you were there flying close air support. What kind of threat was there? What did you see in the way of defenses, that type of thing?
It was mainly small arms. We saw some of the bigger AAA, but nothing like the guys we're seeing up north. It's kind of deceptive because you never saw it. And then one day you come home and crew chief says, you know, you got holes in this thing. And you go, what? And you go out and look, and sure enough, there's holes in it. So, but it was mainly close air support. But you know, back in those days, we were dropping nape at shoot 300-400 feet. I think. Seems to me it read minus 400 feet on the altimeter or something really crazy. But we were really down low. You were making single passes, coming back in with strafes. So we spent a lot of time in that environment. Probably the biggest thing was that down in 3 and 4 Corps, if you went down, you were probably dead. I mean, you were in the jungle someplace, and while we didn't lose many, not many guys came back or got picked up.
Yeah. So Jack, how about the night missions? What were the night missions like?
well, at the end, we were flying single ship in the dark sky spots with the 100, and all the thunderstorms around and whatnot. It got you thinking about what am I really doing up here by myself. But anyway, the night, other than that, we did some of our own flares type missions, and we didn't do anything up in layouts or at night. It was strictly in country and mostly off alert.
Were you working with facts at all in country?
All
night?
the time, all the time with a fact. Yes, sir. That was 24/7 with the fact in country. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Jim, what did you do after you got out of the flying the Air Force? What did you do after that?
Well, I came back to the Seattle area. My folks, my wife's folks, my brothers, and stuff like that were here. I worked at the Port of Seattle out at SeaTac Airport for a number of years in operations there. We set up their low visibility program. After that, I went down and ran Fisherman's Terminal for 4 years. And then right after 9/11, I went down to the port in the port headquarters and was director of seaport security. So we basically put together the entire maritime security program, particularly here in the Northwest and with the port. After that, I did a little consulting, but now I just screw off. I play golf and I just have a wonderful time.
So airplanes to boats to screwing off on Bainbridge Island. Not a bad life. Yeah. Jack, how about you? What'd you find to do?
Well, I stayed in for 27 years, and when I got out, of course, I wasn't a youngster anymore, so I didn't want to be a bus driver flying in the sky, so I came back to the Northwest here and peddled appliances for an old high school buddy of mine who was trying to do appliances over in the Silverdale area. And when I hung that up, I went back to school for 6 months to the Northwest School of Wooden Boat Building and played high school shop all over again.
That's one thing I should have done is in high school is take shop as opposed to college prep. It would have been much more valuable. Well, you guys have had a long flying career and a long career in lots of things. So as you look at the Air Force today, which is obviously different than our Air Force, what kind of message do you have for the young kids out there today, Jim?
Well, it's interesting. My son's a brand new lieutenant colonel on his way down to Tyndall, still in the F-16. And I think the biggest thing is don't get discouraged by some of the minutia. Try and look at it as a bigger picture. I think the Air Force also has some work to kind of re-identify itself. These are some difficult times, but I think we'll get it. We'll get through it. And what I see with my son and his friends and his contemporaries is that they've still got this just almost an overarching zeal for high standards and perfection and performance in their work, and that's what made the Air Force for me, and that's what I see making it now.
Jack, what kind of message do you have for the kids?
Well, whatever you get thrown at you as far as work, assignments, or whatever, get in there and do the best you can. You don't need to go flaunting that, but get in there and give it everything you got, and you'll be recognized, your efforts will be recognized, and the rewards from all that hard work will show off, both in your career and family life and later on in life.
Well, both of you guys have had a great life flying and a great life afterwards, and you live in a great area, so there's a message out there for kids. One thing's clear to all of us, I think, is that the kids today are much better as an Air Force than we ever were as far as putting bombs on target and being able to do it day and night in all kinds of weather. So thank both of you for what you did. It's great, and keep on trucking.